Alright, hey y'all, Paul C. Torina here to cover some information on food prep tips and strategies. And this is all put together from the heart with the intention of helping you implement real food over a lifetime, keeping things as simple as we possibly can. So we'd like to start out by covering some of our values associated with this. Remember, we're looking for freedom over a lifetime. Freedom that comes from understanding, implementing, and getting some experiential knowledge with this stuff. Over time, the more that we do this, the easier it gets. I promise you that. We always want to think about simplicity and elegance, because the more simple something is, the more elegant, the easier it's going to be to implement over a lifetime. We are always going to be learning and experimenting, and we want to have this experimental mindset as we go through this. So if I'm encountering some things that feel foreign to me, like I'm trying to cultivate some new skills, that foreignness is going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but understanding that I'm learning, I'm experimenting, and through that I'm cultivating some skills. Over time, those skills are going to get easier and easier and easier to implement. Also, we want to enjoy the process. This is about the journey. There is no final destination with this. We're going to be implementing this stuff over a lifetime for the rest of our lives. We're going to be eating real food every day for the rest of our lives. So we want to enjoy the journey. We want to enjoy the process. We always want to practice love and kindness to ourselves and everyone else as they continue to figure this stuff out. And as we go through this, we want to be easy on ourselves and understand, like, we're not going to have it perfect all the time, but we're going to try really, really hard. And as we try, we're going to start to cultivate some honed wisdom and some honed intuition, and things get easier and easier and easier as we continue to implement this stuff. And remember, we're all about making this work in a modern lifestyle. So we do allow for some modern conveniences because it's more important for us to eat real food in conjunction with these modern conveniences than it is to not eat real food because we're being so strict with everything we don't take advantage of some of these conveniences. And remember that there's no such thing as failure, there's only feedback. So as we move forward with this information, we're either getting the results that we want, or we're getting feedback to help us change course and hone skills in order to get the results that we want. Okay? So, remember, complicated is stressful. Okay? So I don't want to have a bunch of different things and a bunch of different equipment. So we have a great video where we talk about choosing a knife, choosing cookware, choosing containers for your food, and understanding that when it comes to knives, all we want is a really good chef knife and a paring knife. We like to use a local place like Bed Bath & Beyond to go get a feel for these knives. You want a good quality knife. It's going to be an investment, but it's something that you're going to keep over a lifetime. And then with that knife, we want to make sure that we have a big cutting board to work with, because that big cutting board is going to give us a lot of space, and it's going to be much more conducive for preparing large amounts of food versus having some small, flimsy little cutting board. And then we highly recommend that you learn to cultivate and hone your knife skills properly. So we've done some food prep classes where we've done some demos and some instruction and then walked around and helped people. And it's clear that most of us don't know how to use a chef knife properly, and that's perfectly fine. Until I came into this information, I didn't know how to do it. And what we want to do is we want to cultivate these skills early. You know, and again, this is one of those things that's going to feel different and foreign, and so it's going to feel uncomfortable. But if we start the right way and we learn the right way, then over time, we're going to get way more efficient at preparing food and chopping vegetables, because the reason that we want to do this the right way is for efficiency over the long term and speed and accuracy and stuff like that. So we have a great resource. Stella Culinary has a series of videos where they talk about everything from securing your cutting board to holding the knife properly to simple and basic cuts. And we highly recommend that you learn how to do this properly from the very beginning. Remember, we have a great resource video on knives, cookware, and containers, and things to consider when you're purchasing those different things. When it comes to cookware, we want to keep things really simple. We want to have a large skillet with a lid, and the reason we say large is because in that large skillet you can still prepare small dishes, but a large skillet with a lid, and then you also want something deep with a lid. You would think maybe Dutch oven. I also recommend having a saucepan, like a stainless steel saucepan that you can use for quick heating, like quick boiling of water and reheating coffee and sauces and liquids and things. And then you always want things for baking, so maybe some deep dish glass baking dishes and also some cookie sheets. Other kitchen gadgets you want to consider is going to be a chopper bowl for chopping your bow-bar salad, a slow cooker for cooking meats and things in the background, soups and stews and things like that, We already mentioned baking dishes and cookie sheets. Tinfoil can be useful for food prep because it helps with easy cleanup. Although over the long term, we think that aluminum is not going to be something good to prepare food in because you start to get some of that aluminum in your system. But it is useful for food prep convenience and easy cleanup, and some of us use it some of the time. Then when it comes to storage containers, you want to think about things that you can reheat in. So I'd always recommend glass. You can use stainless steel. That's great for storage, not great for reheating. So glass storage containers like the Glass Lock series are going to be great. You can also freeze in those containers. So just make sure that you have some appropriate containers. So let's talk about the food prep flow. Now this is a very simple 3-step process. Number one, you first want to think about what you want for the week. All right, and if you're thinking about yourself, you're thinking about yourself. Maybe you have a family to consider. So you want to think about ahead of time what it is that you want to consume for the week. And then you want to prep the food for the week. Now, when you think about the food, maybe you're just making a list and you're brainstorming, and maybe this is happening on, say, a Saturday. And then when you prep the food, you're going out and you're shopping for those ingredients and coming back and prepping those in one day, ideally the next day on a Sunday. You may be able to do the thinking, the planning, and the prep all in one day. I mean, it's completely up to you. But just thinking about it in a 3-step process, I think for most people is very useful. So thinking about what you want, doing a little bit of planning, getting the food and prepping it, and then you want to serve the food during the week after you've prepped it, pulling it from the refrigerator or from the freezer, and you want to serve it with some creativity to give it some variety. All right, so we're going to go through each one of these steps. The first one is thinking about what you want for the week. So we have a good little checklist here on day one. Ideally for most people this is going to be a Saturday, but maybe your work week is just a little bit different. You want to think about getting the ingredients for the Bobar, and remember the Bobar salad can be modified to your liking and it can be modified for variety. And then you want to think about the meats for the week. We recommend thinking about 2 meats every time you're doing food prep. Right? The reason we recommend 2 meats is because if I cook a big batch of ground beef for the week and I eat ground beef every day, I might get a little burned out on ground beef. So we recommend thinking about 2 meats that you want to consume for the week, and we give you some ideas here like ground beef, steaks, beef roast, ground pork, pork roast, sausages, whole chicken, chicken legs, chicken thighs, and then of course everybody loves bacon. You also want to think about your safe starches for the week. So this is going to be your potatoes, your sweet potatoes. It can be some white rice. It can be our approved breads and tortillas, which we have some recipes as a resource for you. Hard-boiled eggs are going to be great for food prep because you can pull from those throughout the week and you can use them as a snack. You can use them as some of your main meals. And then eggs and other ingredients that you might use for egg casseroles. So I'm a huge fan, and so are a lot of our people, a big fan for egg casseroles because you can make a big dish of eggs and different ingredients, and then you can cut it up into squares and you can pull from it throughout the week. It also freezes very well. You also might want to think about some fresh greens for the week. I like to do those pre-washed boxes of kale, arugula, spinach, spring greens. There's some mixes that have some chards in it, but you know, some greens are going to give you a little bit of variety. They're also going to give you some nutrient density, some broadening of some nutrients. And then for dessert for the week, we recommend experimenting with the fruit bar salad. So this is a fruit version of the Bobar, and I absolutely love it. This is my go-to for most weeks for desserts, but you can also consider other desserts. And then you also want to make sure that you have your clean glass containers on hand that you can use both in the fridge and in the freezer. And then any spices, seasonings, sausage, dressings, and other things that you might use to kind of spice things up to give you a little bit of variety throughout the week. Okay, so that's our food prep checklist. This is in preparation, thinking about what you want for the week, and then maybe even going out and getting those things for the week. Then you want to prep the food for the week. All right, so ideally this is all happening within the span of a few hours, maybe on a Sunday. You're going to make your Bobar based on the ingredients that you purchased. You're going to batch cook your meats and oven bake your bacon. And I would consider freezing part of those meats so that you always have a backup in case you run out of food. You want to batch cook your safe starches, which means your potatoes and your sweet potatoes and your yams and possibly even your white rice and maybe your breads and your rolls and things. Hard boil your eggs, make your egg casserole, and then make your dessert options. So let's go through some examples of batch cooking. Most people don't know that you can oven bake bacon, and it's way more efficient than cooking on the stove. So if I cook bacon in a skillet on the stove, number one, it's really messy, but number two, like there's a limit to how much bacon I can cook in a skillet. But if I lay bacon out on a baking sheet, I can cook several baking sheets of bacon at one time. And then when I pull the bacon out of the oven, I'm going to pull it out when I feel like it's cooked to the crispiness that I like. Then I'll pull those sheets out and I can tilt the sheet, save the bacon grease into a little mason jar, and then I can take the bacon and put it into some containers and store it in the refrigerator. So oven bacon is the way to do things. Like, it's so great. We can also oven bake chicken. We can do chicken legs, chicken thighs, chicken with the skin on it. You can do a bunch of them at once and season it however you want. And then again, put it into the fridge or freezer after you've cooked it. I also love oven baking sausages. So taking sausages and laying them out just like you would bacon. And then you can put that in the fridge or the freezer and you can pull from that throughout the week. Also, meatballs are great in the oven. You can make meatballs according to your own personal recipe. We have a recipe that we call T-balls, which is basically ground beef, ground bacon, and a little bit of organ meats. The ground bacon and beef kind of mask the flavor of the organ meats, but you still get the nutrients from the organ meats. But meatballs and T-balls are great to cook in the oven in large batches, and then you can pull from those throughout the week and you can put them in the freezer. They freeze really well. Another great option is going to be bacon wrapped chicken. So you can wrap chicken thighs, you can wrap chicken drumsticks, and it almost requires no seasoning because the bacon makes it taste so awesome. And then you can keep that in the refrigerator or put it in the freezer and pull from that throughout the week. And then of course we love our Bo-Bar salad. We recommend getting your ingredients for the Bo-Bar, giving it a rough chop, throwing it into a chopper bowl like you see here, and then chopping that up to the fineness that you like. And then you can take that, mix it with a little bit of olive oil and apple cider vinegar, and then put that into some mason jars and pull from that throughout the week. Bo-Bar is so versatile. Like, you can cook it in the skillet with some butter, some bacon grease, you can put some hot sauce on it, you can add meat to it, you can add cheese to it, you can eat it raw with some salad dressing. It has so many different uses. Another option would be oven baked veggies or oven baked Bo-Bar. So we can make the Bo-Bar and then pre-oven bake it and then pull from that throughout the week. Or you can just take some vegetables, put it in a big mixing bowl, give it a rough chop, put it in a big mixing bowl, coat it with a little bit of olive oil or maybe some avocado oil, and then season it and lay it out in some bacon sheets and bake that. Also, you can batch cook oven baked potatoes. You can lay out a bunch of different sweet potatoes, regular potatoes. You can chop them up and do like little hash brown looking things. You can even do French fries, cut them up into thin strips and coat them with a little bit of oil and then batch cook those in the oven. White rice does really good being batch cooked, so you can cook a big pot of white rice and then put that into small containers and pull from that throughout the week. So we've given you some recipe examples that you can use for some efficiency tips. We have our infamous Bo-Bar salad in here. We have a recipe for an egg casserole. Before I came across this recipe in our Facebook group, I've never made an egg casserole, and I made my first one the other night, and it's great. Like, you just mix all these ingredients up, lay it out into a baking sheet, bake it, and then you can cut it up into little squares, put it in the fridge, put it in the freezer, pull from it whenever you want to. And then the fruit bar salad, like we love. So you have a big mixing bowl, you add to that mixing bowl fruit of your choice. I prefer strawberries and other berries like blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries because they're relatively lower in sugar, higher in nutrients, and it just tastes amazing. And so you're gonna put all your fruit into a bowl, and you're gonna do a squeeze of lemon and squeeze of lime over it. I like to put a little bit of MCT oil, and then I also like to put some honey or maple syrup, and then I'll take that honey and maple syrup and stir it all together, and then I'll put that into some mason jars and pull from that throughout the week. Very versatile, tastes amazing. When you pull from it throughout the week, you can actually add a little bit of heavy whipped cream. You can whip it up and make it like an actual whipped cream. You can add some coconut milk, some canned coconut milk for variety. And then we mentioned before, you can batch produce some Brazilian cheese bread and some other bread options. So we have a great recipe for Brazilian cheese bread, which is made with the right ingredients. This keeps really well in the fridge. It also keeps well in the freezer. And we also have a recipe for what we call Manuela's tortillas, because Manuela Branca actually created it and shared it in the Facebook group, and it is a staple in a lot of people's homes. So again, made with the right ingredients, you can prepare these. They're like real tortillas. I mean, they fold, you can put meats in them and things like that. And they freeze really well. So to freeze them, we'd recommend layering them in between parchment paper. And then when you go to pull them out of the freezer, you can actually take them one by one and put them in a skillet and reheat them just really briefly. So some other things to remember when it comes to preparing the food for the week. You want to have a lot of things running at once. So typically when I'm doing my food prep, I've got the oven going with some bacon, oven baked bacon. I got a crock pot going with some meat in it, and I'm over here chopping some bobar, and within a few hours, like I've got all my meal prep done for the week. The crock pot is great for soups and stews, and also doing ground meats and roasts like pot roast and pork roast and beef roasts. And then also you can do whole chickens and chicken legs and thighs and things like that. The oven is great, like we just mentioned, for batch cooking chicken legs, wings, drumsticks, sausages, whether it's pork sausage or chicken sausage or beef sausage. Also great for batch cooking potatoes and sweet potatoes and yams, and also oven baked vegetables. And we always recommend freezing some of your food for future reference, just in case you run out of something. Anytime you make anything, always think ahead and think, I'm going to make extra so that I can save those extras, those leftovers, and use them at some point in the future. And then the final piece to this is, so we've already thought about what we want, we've prepped the food for the week, and now we want to serve it with variety and creativity. So as I'm pulling this food out, remember, I can reheat things in the microwave. We're perfectly fine with the microwave. I can also reheat in some saucepans or skillets. And then as I'm reheating, I just want to add some spices and seasonings and sauces and things like that for variety. So you can think, you know, if I want to do something that tastes kind of Italian, say I've got some ground beef, I can do some marinara sauce, some pasta sauce. I could even do some Italian type seasonings to make it taste more Italian. I can mix in cheeses of any kind. I can do grated shredded cheeses. I can do cottage cheese, sour cream, cream cheeses, and things like that. I can also include any number of different sauces, like hot sauces and salad dressings. And then we can always add in bobar to the meats, or your choice of some kind of a vegetable. So if I've got meat that I'm pulling from the fridge or the freezer, I can throw in some chopped veggies, or I can throw in some bobar, simmer it in the skillet for a little bit, and then add some spices and seasonings, and I can do that in a variety of different ways. Okay? Now, to add to safe starches for variety, same thing. I can pull some of these pre-cooked potatoes, slit it down the middle, put a little bit of butter, a little bit of sour cream, and do something that looks like a baked potato and just reheat it in the microwave for a little bit. I can do the same thing with sweet potatoes, but I can make them taste a little bit more sweet by adding some cream, some honey, some salt, maybe a little bit of cinnamon. I can serve regular potatoes with a little bit of salt, butter. I can blend it up and make some mashed potatoes. I can blend up the sweet potatoes and make some mashed sweet potatoes. And then remember, if we've made those pre-made breads and tortillas, we can always serve those with just about anything. And like we mentioned before, the bobar is very versatile. So I can use bobar raw with some salad dressing. I can cook it in the skillet with some butter, some bacon grease, or some other healthy fats. And I can add any variety of sauces and seasonings to it. And then I can also always combine it with different meats, top it with cheeses and things like that. So there's just an infinity of things that we can do with bobar. Remember, if you've purchased some pre-washed greens, you can always add those to the mix for some variety. You don't have to have them every night, maybe every other night, you know, depending on how big your family is and how much variety that you want. And with those greens, you can always eat them raw with a little bit of salad dressing, or you can lightly saute them in a skillet with a little bit of butter or some other kind of healthy fat. And then you can always serve your frubar creatively. So straight into a bowl is great. That's the way that I prefer to do it, but you can also whip up some heavy cream for some whipped cream, or use some canned coconut milk for some kind of little bit of healthy fat and some buttery taste. You can also sprinkle in some dark chocolate chips. All right, so for your convenience, we have these two different checklists as part of this downloadable PDF. We have our food prep checklist, which is the first step, and then we have the food implementation checklist, which is the second step. All right. Actually, I take that back. We have the food prep checklist, which is a two-step process. You think about what you want, and then you prepare the food. And then our third step is going to be implementing that food in a variety of different ways with some creativity. And then for your convenience, we have recipes for the bobar salad, the egg casserole, the frubar salad, the Brazilian cheese bread, Manuela's tortillas, and then something that we always like to cover at the end of this is, a lot of times, like, we just don't have the time to do this stuff, so there are services out there that can help us. Number one, we have my chef, Chef Sam, which does food prep and also catering. And she's gone through the program, and so she knows, you know, what we're looking for. It's the way that she eats and preps food, so you know that all the ingredients are prepped the right way. We also have another local Las Vegas chef. His name is Chris Keating, and he has a company called Chef It. And Chef It, they also do meal prep and they do catering, so you can check out their website for different options. They deliver right now twice a week. He's probably going to be stepping that up here in the near future. Something that I plan on trying here in the near future is going to be some of these home delivery services. So Prime Now, you know, their motto is skip the trip, and they offer all the different things that they offer on Amazon and household items and grocery items. And so a lot of what they can get is at Whole Foods, but they also deliver from some other places right to your doorstep. All you have to do is go in there and see if they delivered to your zip code, and if they do, then you can place an order and usually have it within a couple of hours. Another thing that we've gotten a lot of great reviews that I plan on using is Postmates. So again, you want to plug in your address. You can pretty much get anything delivered in minutes. And then finally, we have the Bite Squad. And this is, you know, your favorite restaurants delivered to your doorstep. And again, if you plug in your address, they'll tell you what things are available in your location. So those are other great resources. Honestly, they don't charge that much for the delivery part of it. So if I wanted, you know, I had a night that was late here and I just didn't have any time to reheat anything and I wanted some In-N-Out at my place, I can call them up and or place an order online and have In-N-Out delivered to my doorstep for just a few dollars, which I think is totally worth it. As another resource, remember we have our oldie but goodie real food cooking and food prep tips for superhumans. It's still got a lot of great information in it, so we will make sure that we have that available as a link. And so your next steps after watching this video are going to be, well, first of all, download the PDF document that has all these different information resources in it. And I would commit to this food prep flow and just experiment with it to see how it feels. So remember, think about what you want for the week. Prep your food for the week, all in one day, ideally within a few hours. And then you're going to serve the food during the week with creativity based on all that information that we gave you. All right, so we know this is going to be helpful for you. Let us know how it goes. Let us know how we can improve this for future people, okay? Thank you so much. May the power of real food be with you.